Hey everybody, Chief here. Um, just going to give the stream a moment to make sure everything is good. If audio sounds good to you guys, let me know. Make sure you guys can hear me talking. If the music is too loud, also let me know that. Actually, let me turn it down just a little bit. Um, that should be a little better. Hey, what's up, Becky? DK, God of War. Thanks for joining the stream today. All right, I sound clear. That's good. Wish my kids understood that or felt the same way. All right, so welcome to the podcast stream. This is a stream I run every Sunday at 6 p.m. With the exception of last Sunday, I skipped a week because it was Father's Day, and hopefully you all had a chance to, spend some time at least with your families and enjoy your weekend. And hopefully you guys are enjoying your weekend so far this weekend. I know where I'm at, the sun has been out, the rain is gone, and summer is in full swing. So it's been pretty nice. We're getting a few familiar faces here. Firebird, Tad, Ghost. Thanks everybody for stopping by. And okay, so the topic for today's podcast stream is the nerf from Last Stand. Pixonic has confirmed that they are working towards. They have not yet said what it is, so maybe we will talk about some of the things of what it could be, or maybe what it should be, and then of course the Ares and the Ares train. According to the dev stream, they believe that a nerf to Last Stand will help to tame the Ares and bring them back down to Earth. Some people have differing opinions on that, and that's something that I want to kind of talk about and hear different sides with the discussion today. And also, I'm sure most of you over the weekend have already seen there is a new module, the Shield Breaker. While this stream isn't directly related to that, it'd be pretty difficult for me to tell you guys not to talk about it because it's directly aimed at the Ares and the Ares train. For those of you that are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. This is something that I do every Sunday. I also have a couple of other gameplay streams each week, so you can stop by and check those out as well. So today's guests, I have, you all know him, Adrian. Adrian Chong, Clan Vox. He's also a YouTuber. I don't think I really need to explain that to you, but for those of you that may not know who that is, there's a link to his channel in the description of this video. A couple of other guests that I have is A Mecagod from Android. He is one of the leaders of Boss Clan over there on Android. He has been on the show before, so some of you might recognize him. And I have a new guest today, Outmode. He is from the IRÓN clan on the Steam platform. It's not very often I get an opportunity to bring a Steam player on, so I wanted to bring that community in to watch the stream and discuss this topic with us. So we should have all the platforms pretty much represented, and I'm looking forward to this stream. So to all the viewers out there, be sure that share your opinions with us. If you have a question, type it in the chat, and I will do my best to work through all of the questions you might have. So I don't want to take up too much of your time with just my talking, so let me jump over into my live stream channel and bring the others into the stream with us. All right, guys, how's it going?
Good.
All right. We are good on the stream. Hopefully, and if any of the viewers are having a hard time hearing anybody, any of the guests, please let me know, and I will try to get their volume bumped up a little bit, but it should be pretty good for you guys. Hey, what's up, Eddie? Hey, man, Islander, checking into the stream. Yeah, so I've already given an introduction to everybody on what the topics of the stream are going to be. Now, if each one of you could go ahead and give a quick introduction for yourself and let the audience know, who you are, where you play, and we will get right into the discussion.
Okay. I go by out mode. I'll go first. I'm out mode. I play on Steam. I'm playing for roughly a year now. And, I guess we're here to talk about Last Stand, huh?
Last Stand and Ares. That's some hot topics right now.
Yes, they are.
All right,
I'm a Mecagod with Android with badass bots and playing for too long, probably, but not long enough at the same time. Probably 3.5, 4 years, something like that. So, seen a few meta changes.
Right on. And Adrian?
Okay, so yeah, I'm Adrian. I'm from the iOS side at Champion League. I've been playing the game for, I think, over 5 years now, and I'm from Clan Vox.
Okay, well, thank you all for agreeing to be on the show today. As you all know, the Ares and the Ares is pretty much the hot topic, especially with the test server that happened this weekend. But originally, the developer stream, the developers mentioned that they were looking more at nerfing the Last Stand as a way to kind of reel in the Ares in the Ares train. So I kind of wanted to just bring that discussion to all of the viewers. Some of us have different views, and I think it's kind of important for us to kind of hear both sides or all sides, and kind of let us all make our own decisions. This originally kind of started when Adrian and myself were in another Discord channel and we were talking about it, and I was kind of surprised that he had a kind of a different view. He, and I'll let him explain his view. But my overall opinion is the Ares itself needs to get the nerf. Last Stand isn't going to solve the problem. But I must say, Adrian does have some very convincing points, and it's not something that I was exactly considering. And I honestly have no idea where Mecagod or Outmode stand on the subject, so we will let them kind of get into it.
Well, I'd like to point out that I think that the Ares and Last Stand are two separate issues. And I tend to agree with Adrian that Last Stand's a little more of an issue than the Ares itself. Because you can move the Last Stand from one bot to the next, and whatever meta bot it is going to make it even more so with the Last Stand. So, if they're going to address the Last Stand, I think that might be the way to go, at least for right now.
Okay. That's definitely a little different take than what I have on the subject. What about you, Mecha? What do you think?
I definitely think the Last Stand could be nerfed down. It makes such a difference on the bots, and you go in for a kill and you never know if they have Last Stand. If they have Last Stand, then you're gonna die. If they don't have Last Stand, then they're dead. It's hard to judge. It lasts too long. I don't think it's going to have too much of an effect directly on the Ares. I think it'll just kind of help overall gameplay. So I'm for the Last Stand nerf for sure, but I still think something else needs to be done slightly with the Ares. It's annoying. It's beatable, but it's annoying and boring, honestly.
And Adrian.
Okay, so this is kind of just my view again. Like, when it comes to the Ares, because I remember when I was facing the Ares and the whole Ares train thing, we didn't have last stand in the game, like at that point. And I know, the Mercury was a really good counter to it. Even a Pursuer, if you could get into stealth, you could, walk, or I guess run right into, that Ares shield. So you had, that the Hellburner was another option. I still remember Ben, or Kitty WR, he was running Invaders at the time. And I didn't really think of it, or much of it at the time, until I decided to test that on, like, the Battle Wreck account. And I actually found that was actually a really good counter to, like, just the Ares in general. So, like, at that point, I didn't really think much of the Ares because I started to see more and more counters to it. But when Last Stand came to the game, that just changed everything. Because it's one thing to have a bot that, you have an indestructible shield, but you can actually get inside that shield if you have, like, stealth, or, you hell dive them for that matter. But when they have Last Stand and you can't kill them because of the hell dive, that becomes a problem, especially when you start piling up things like speed boosters, and now with, like, pilots and stuff, it just adds to it. So it's like playing, I've kind of mentioned this before, it's like playing a game of chess. So you have, like, you have one side where, everyone, or that opponent, he has, all his pieces are made of wood. And then the other side, their pieces are kind of made of, or like the queen is made of gold. And there's one exception, you can't take that queen because it's made of gold. You can take all the other pieces, but that piece you can't take. It's like facing off, 1v1. Whoever has a Last Stand is more likely to win. That kind of just throws everything off. That's why I think that Last Stand should be addressed first. Doesn't mean that I don't think the Ares doesn't need a nerf. I think the Last Stand should be addressed first, and then you kind of look to see how things go, and then if you need to nerf the Ares down, then you adjust something to it. So that's my take on it.
Right, and those were things that initially I wasn't really considering. As far as I think I was more tunnel visioned myself into, okay, well, the Ares is a problem. It's OP. It's every part of the Ares is OP. It's too fast. It's shield is too long. It has too short of a cooldown. It does too much damage from its built-in weapon system. But I guess I can definitely see your point of view with even with the counter that are already in the game. The Last Stand prevents us from using them. So we kind of need to, I guess, evaluate after Last Stand gets nerfed, so we can see how that's going to affect the existing counters. Is that kind of what you're? Yeah.
I wouldn't do both of them at the same time because it might be too extreme. It might be kind of like what we're doing with the whole shield breaker thing. Sometimes you tend to overreact, and then it just basically nerfs it down to the ground, which you don't want either, because then we'd be facing something similar to, like, the Spectre. Plus, the other thing too, nerfing down the Ares is one thing, but we also don't know, like, what bots Pixonic may be developing in the future, like what they have coming down the pipeline. We might need that firepower to counter those bots. So if you nerf it down, we're going to have a bit of a problem. Then it's just the cycle's going to continue, right? Because then when that comes out, then everyone's going to be getting it. So then you have other balance issues, because already with the shield breaker, players already saying, like, even myself, that comes out, you're going to have a problem with the Aljungs and, like, maybe Lokis, because everyone's going to be running shield breaker. You're not going to have quantum radar, equipped on your bot. So Aljungs are going to be running rampant. Then you're going to have a new problem.
Right. Well, Hellburners are starting to come back too, and that's kind of can show you how they've nerfed a bot multiple times, and just due to other game changes.
Full time in the hangar.
I mean, other changes, and with this, it's the introduction of the pilots, and the Hellburners are back. They're not as strong as they were, but they're definitely more usable than they were after their 4th or 5th nerf. So yeah, I can definitely understand what you're saying there. By the way, Big JJ wants to know if you've already picked the winners from your stream today.
No. I'm only gonna be picking winners like most probably tomorrow. I have a lot of winners for that.
Yeah, I think he was joking, but okay. So I mean, we've got a little bit of people going in the chat. Thankfully, my chat isn't quite as busy as yours, so we can actually read it as it's coming in. But you know, a couple of them are giving kind of some ideas for, you know, nerfing the last stand, saying that you know, because at this point we don't even know what kind of nerf they're looking at with the last stand. You know, they haven't told anybody anything. They just said, yes, we're working on a nerf for the last stand. And you know, some of them are saying, you know, maybe it you know, last stand should just be a temporary, you know, savior, like, you know, 1.5 seconds long, but you can reuse it if you heal, you know. I don't know, I mean, something like that could work, I suppose. I've, you know, had lots of people tell me too, you know, last stand should, you know, just kick in when you reach 0 health. It lasts for 4.5 seconds, and when it expires, boom, you're dead. You know, that's kind of
I think they should only allow it for older robots. That way they don't tamper with any of the actual stats of the module. They keep everything the same, and as the game evolves, then they add like the Ares to the list, and then the next bot, whatever it is.
Right. I guess, I mean, I could see how that would be useful, but man, it'd be pretty tough for you to spend 5,000 gold on a module you could only use on bots that are no longer even in your hangar. I don't really foresee that.
I guess the good thing about that too is it will allow players to almost like catch up and adapt a little bit better, because like the way that the meta shifts now, it's you have to adapt really quick, you know, when things shift. So if the next bot comes out that's really, really strong, and then the Ares does get the last stand, at least you can put it on there, and in the meantime you kind of work towards the next meta bot. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So that's.
I've also I read one of the viewers say something about, you know, instead of being a total like resistance invincible, you know, change it to a resistance of like 80% or 75%, something like that. So when somebody hits last stand, you can still do damage.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like that bad of an idea.
Right. And honestly, you know, my personal feeling on it, I think that would be the nerf that I would recommend. You could still, you know, make it to where it increases in time with the same amount of time, up to 4.5 seconds at level 6. But, you know, increase the resistance that it gives, you know, started at like 50% and then boost it up to like 90% or something, you know, super high. So it's noticeable, but people can still do damage.
Yeah. Because, I mean, when an invader suppresses 4 people and 4 people are still shooting that invader, you can still kill that invader.
Right.
Would that be more like Battleborn though? Because it kind of almost really is at that point.
Well, I suppose it is, but you know, I guess I don't really know of too many ways they could nerf it and still make it useful.
Yeah.
Well, with Last Stand, is it really an issue of just Last Stand, or is it an issue with Ares plus the Last Stand? And if that's the case, you know, how do you really approach it? My idea, like you mentioned it going down to 0 and then it would kick in. I like that idea, because then that bot, even though it has a Last Stand, it gives them a chance to affect that last kill or get the beacon. It's still gonna terminate. So it's not going to be around to heal again and keep going and keep the train going. And I think that would be one way to affect the Ares train.
What if they did it like where, basically, if you have last stand on a bot, and you get hit, your health drops all the way down. I guess you can't really do 0% because you'll be dead then, but maybe like 5%, and then when it hits that threshold, depending on what level your last stand is, you get a bump up in health. So if you have it maxed out, for example, maybe when you drop all the way down to 5%, your health gets bumped up to like, I don't know, 75%. You get what I'm saying? So it's more of a health boost.
So kind of like an instant heal.
Yeah, it's almost like
a lot more likely to have lost a weapon by that point too. So you're really less of a robot by the time that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought of that now, but I'm not sure how that would work.
Well, another thing to keep in mind too is the last stand does more than just make you invulnerable. It also prevents you from having any effects, not only negative effects, but also positive effects. Like if you try to use a heal while last stand is going, it doesn't work. Same thing with any kind of corrosion or suppression. It doesn't stick to you if you're in last stand. So I think the first thing that they need to do is get rid of that. But I don't know. I mean, I think an instant heal almost to full health would probably be okay. But if you've got 6 people shooting you, is it going to be useful?
And the other thing too is if you're in like a Falcon with Traditionalist, you'll have to think of that too. Because you'll have a full Falcon, and you're like, you thought you killed
Falcon
me now,
again.
but guess what? Full health. Yeah.
Yeah, those can be tough to take down.
Or maybe when it boosts up like that, you don't have the ability, your resistance falls away for that part. So if you have resistance, then it will actually go down pretty quick. The thing is, you see the difference is between that and the 4.5 seconds, there is no 4.5. Like if someone keeps shooting you, it's going to be less than 4.5 seconds, especially if you have multiple players hitting you.
Right.
That could be interesting.
Oh, and on top of that, it will also give players more silver, because technically you'll be doing more damage, right?
Yeah, you're still doing damage while they're in last stand.
Yep, which is the other thing too with last stand. If someone hits last stand, you hit them, you're not getting any damage at all.
Right. And I mean, I know other people kind of don't agree 100%, but last stand in and of itself, other than being really strong, I mean, when it first came out, it was ridiculous. The first month or two, you're like, oh gosh, I can't believe this Mender has last stand. It's, he's impossible to kill. But we've kind of gotten past that at this point. But it's, oh gosh, what was I going to say? Kind of lost my train of thought on that one. There's a point where you can kind of overcome some of these things, and then there's a point where you can't. So for example, like the thing with the Mender, or most robots that have last stand, we've adapted and we can kind of deal with it. And now, at least on iOS, almost everybody has last stand on almost every single robot. And we just deal with it. But there are a few things that last stand did present that we can't just deal with. And for example, rockets, organs. In my opinion, last stand killed the organ. I mean, the nerfs to it didn't help, but the last stand absolutely, put a lid on it. Because what's the point of jumping in and shooting, full volley of organs, and you hit a last stand, and now you're just sitting there and you're dead. There's nothing you could do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Will a nerf to the last stand, be able to bring back some of these things that we lost, and is that going to cause more issues? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going down in left field there. I don't know. You guys could just kind of ignore me if I do that. But
no, I mean you definitely see a whole lot less Orkans out there now. A whole lot less. I know I've got plenty that are leveled up that I haven't played with in months.
Right. And I think the point that I was mainly trying to get at is, anytime you make one change in the game, it's going to have collateral effect on other things. And the Last Stand, it was a great idea, and they said, you can extend the life of your bot, you buy this module and it helps you, you can kind of live a little longer, whatever. But then, there were side effects to having it, and it kind of bled in, and I think it was amplified with the Ares. Just like, an Ares without lockdown is also a weak bot, so, without lockdown and without Last Stand, I think for the most part, an Ares is, easy to deal with. But you put those two things on it and it makes it difficult. So, that's something that we kind of need to consider too when, we're talking about, or xCHIEFx is talking about, nerfing, any one thing, or even adding one thing to the game in the case of like the shield breaker. I think they went way overboard on the shield breaker. But,
Yeah, the shield breaker is way out of control as far as what they're trying to achieve, because it just affects so much in the game.
Yeah,
Like
too many
collateral
other
damage.
bots need that shield to make it. And so adding shield breakers is going to take quite a few bots out of the game. Or not out of the game, but you've got to play them totally different.
well, given that
I think with the shield breaker, I think maybe what they did was they made it like really extreme to see how players react, and I think they're gonna scale back. That's just my thinking, because it's a first test.
I'm gonna hope you're right on that.
Well, and it, realistically, it, I guess, technically may not even make it into the game.
Right.
Yeah, that's possible too.
Who knows? Maybe they were just, coming up with a kind of a quick, extreme idea to kind of shoot a shot across the bow of all these guys running, 4 or 5 Ares to say, hey, something's coming, just so you know. This is how bad it can be. But yeah, they're gonna kill 5 or 6 other bots, and it's mostly gonna affect lower leagues. Realistically, because Ansel shields are not as common in Champion League, but in Gold League, you kind of need them. It's the only real protection that some of them get, and I know they have workshop that they're working on, but when you're in Gold League, you don't have 6 slots on your workshop yet. So what takes somebody in Champion League a month to make, it takes 2 months maybe to make if you're in lower leagues.
I'm not really sure if the lower league's going to be running the shield breaker if it's 40 power cells to run it. That's the other thing, is that the lower league people aren't going to want to spend that kind of power cell money, as it were.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not going to want to spend that kind of power cell.
No.
On my baby account, which is expert, I'm kind of, I guess, on the verge of master, but I do see Ares, but they're not really a problem, to be honest. And I think it might be also because they don't have Last Stand. So I just don't find them to be a problem at that level. Maybe it's because they don't have Last Stand. Maybe it might be just because of the experience level, which could also factor in. The only time that I guess it would be a problem would be if that player was actually a Champion League player and they tanked down. Then I could kind of see that. But I don't really run into those players that much.
Well, I can say on
not
Steam,
too many Ares trains.
No, yeah, I don't. Not out of the games that I played. Mind you, that is solo play, so I don't know how it would be in squad play.
Right. Well, could you imagine? I know on your baby account on Android, you run your Fujin.
Yeah.
If they were to go through, even if it is 40 power cell cost to use this, could you imagine how weak your Fujin would be if somebody was using Shield Breaker?
Yeah, I honestly don't think it would be that much of a problem, because my my Fujing, it's only level 6. So if it goes down, it's going to go down fast anyways. But what makes it so deadly isn't really the energy shield. It's the fact that I got 3 Tyrans on there. That's what makes it deadly. So yeah, like it usually goes down pretty quick, just in general. But like if I manage to get shots on a player with 3 Tyrans, it's going to do a lot of damage. And that's kind of the reason why I have it in there, is for that reason.
Right. Okay. Well, I could understand that. I guess maybe just when I was coming up in, Gold League and Silver League, is like you run into one, and I mean, their shields were so tough to try and beat when you're just sitting there with your machine guns or Orkans, and you're just, I mean, you're toast. But then again, I didn't have power cells or modules, at that time. So, I don't know. I think anything that pulls away from the viability of robots that lower league players use, I don't think should be considered. But that's just, I guess, maybe because I feel a little more for the lower league guys, because it's a struggle for some of them, especially now with, with some of the changes and it's tough to get resources, tougher to get gold. I mean, it can be tough, as a low league player. So, I don't know.
And it was tough when I was lower league, but getting just exponentially tougher than when I was there. I'm with you. I kind of feel sorry for the lower league guys and the completely free to play guys. I don't want to get back onto that subject, but we see it so much where I'm just playing people who should not be playing against us. It's boring and frustrating for them. And the more of this stuff you do, you just add more, and then the rumors of the new bots is just kind of scary. I think that'll be a whole nother podcast in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not exactly comfortable with what they were talking about on their dev stream about a whole new style of robot, all new types of mechanics or whatever it is they were talking about. Yeah, when their imagination goes wild, it could get a little crazy. So,
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want to get too overly sidetracked here with the shield breaker stuff, but I kind of think it has has to at least be touched on, because I mean, without a doubt, it is absolutely aimed to destroy the Ares terrain. So and that's kind of what we're talking about here on the stream. Is
thing is, it destroys the Nemesis and Hades too.
Oh.
Yes, it does.
And that's a shame, because those two, they have impenetrable shields, but they are so well balanced with the game in general.
They are. They really are. You can take them out. They can do damage, but you can take them out.
Right.
And the Ares, I mean, if the shield was a little bit, didn't last quite as long, so it took more than 3 to have a steady shield or a longer cooldown. I don't think you can do anything to the shield itself, like the mechanics of it, which, I think we discussed a few weeks ago. But I don't think you can do anything with the mechanics of it to help nerf the Ares down a little bit. It's the cooldown and the length of the shield would probably do a big difference. If you could stop the constant between 3 Ares running that train, that's the only time I have issues with. If an Ares is by itself, they're easy to take out. You just got to show some patience.
Right. And I'm not a fan of the Ares, and I don't hide that. I don't generally run one in my main lineup. I put it in there when, some of the viewers are asking for more Ares gameplay. But other than that, I just don't enjoy the gameplay from the Ares, but I absolutely enjoy the Hades and the Nemesis. But there's nothing really wrong, and, some people are going to disagree with me, but there's nothing really wrong with the Ares by itself. The bot itself, sure, it's got a really long shield. Sure, it's super fast. Sure, it does a whole lot of damage. But you know, you're right. One Ares, you can take it out. You can definitely take out one Ares. And we really didn't see too much of an issue with it until the Ares train really caught on. And you know, and I get the Ares train is a tactic, and it is a legitimate tactic. And it's one that, you know, came about in the higher Champion League gameplay, you know, when, you know, they were the first ones to pretty much get Ares and max them out and say, oh, well, hey, you know, what happens if we do this or do that? And it's a legitimate tactic, but there's no way to stop that tactic from being used against randoms or against, you know, lower league players, which is what's happening. You know, they, you know, the S clans are not, you know, saying, oh, we'll run our non-Ares hanger or, you know, whatever, because we're going against a bunch of randoms. It just doesn't happen. So, you know,
there's a few of them. We try to. I mean, honestly, we do. We do different little things to try and make it more of a challenge when we're against randoms, because it's boring. But I know the majority of the clans are not like that.
right.
I know none of the ones I faced coming up when I was getting spawn raped ever did anything to make it more of a challenge, like a second hanger or, you know, only spawning a few bots at a time.
Right. And, you know, I mean, it's, I guess, one of those things where, you know, you can't really balance what's a legitimate tactic and what is abuse. Because sometimes something that is innocent or a tactic can easily be abused. It was the same thing with the Hellburners that we saw. You know, one Hellburner, no problem. You know, even two Hellburners, no problem. 6 Hellburners, you're done.
Problem.
But it was a legitimate tactic. And I mean, I'm sure if clans started running, you know, 6 of the Falcon traditionalists and dropping them at the same time, it would also become a problem. You know, I think, you know, by itself it's not too bad, but anything that you kind of overdo is going to create an imbalance in the game. But how can we, you know, or how can Pixonic rather, you know, deal with that? I don't know.
I mean, something we never saw, but me and a couple guys that ran the Mender, you know, before this last nerf, we used to run shotguns on them and brawl with them, and we wanted to start 6 Menders, because I bet 6 Menders could really tear up another team. 2 groups of 3 healing each other constantly. I never saw anybody do it, but I bet it would work.
Well, I think
before the nerf.
Right.
Before the nerf.
Well,
I was just watching your gameplay here. Do you know the small screen?
Oh yeah.
You were in a pursuer. You got into an Ares shield, and you know why he killed you? It's because he had Last Stand. You would have actually killed him if you didn't have Last Stand on there.
Right.
Which goes to the point like that I had before. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I don't disagree with your point. You know, the Last Stand is a problem, but I guess I would, you know, I don't know, maybe I've kind of just accepted, okay, the Last Stand, it's here, it sucks, you know. I mean, you know, I have to have them on my robots in order to, you know, compete against everybody else because everybody else has them.
Yeah.
But I don't have to have an Ares, you know.
No.
But at the same time,
No,
I also can't do anything to an Ares train. You know, there's, I mean, there are things you can do to damage them, and I get the fact that, you know, if you go and helldive an Ares train, if they didn't have Last Stand, the train would go away. I totally get that. I guess I think for me, even without a Last Stand, an Ares train can still be abused.
No, I definitely agree with that. Generally, when you have, like this has always actually been sort of how the meta works, is when players like at the higher levels figure out like a really strong build or a really strong bot, they build it in multiples, and then when they run it, they usually run it at the same time. It's kind of like going way back now to like the boa era. When I still remember when we'd start like on Yamantau map, we'd always send 6 boas straight into center, and it would just be wave after wave. Same thing. The same thing happened like kind of with the rhino. The rhino rush. You'd have 6 guys in rhinos charging at the beacons, and you just steamroll like randoms. It's kind of the same thing, although what makes the Ares worse is that shield. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw my one posted in the other Discord chat where I kind of proposed an idea of possibly changing that shield where it only protects the front of the Ares. So like if I was to engage someone and I have my shield up, if I'm looking at that player, that shield will block them, although they can actually fire something like Vortex. If they jumped over it, they can fire over it, but it allows them to actually attack from the sides or behind. So if you had and I think there is something like that in that Overwatch game. I think it was that game that I saw. Someone had kind of like a shield like that. One of the characters.
Right. And I saw that, and I think that would help tremendously, because then you have a lot more options. You can flank, the train, or you can...
And you're not really changing the shield, like it's still indestructible.
Sure.
But you have counters to it. A lot more.
But then, I mean, I know you're talking about, or you mentioned, they shouldn't nerf both the Ares and the Last Stand at the same time, because it might be too much. But, say they make a change similar to what you're saying, where it only has a frontal shield. Is it going to matter so much if Last Stand is still there and just as strong? Because, even if you get around to the side of them, or you can hell dive them, or whatever, you're still not going to kill them. So
yeah, you won't kill them, but they will definitely you will trigger the Last Stand a lot quicker.
Sure.
Because you can flank them from the sides and from behind. I mean, even above, actually, technically too. So yeah, and I think to pull off an Ares train like that would be, I mean, you won't. I don't think you'll have that problem because you can fire above from the top. And in order for something like that to work, everyone would have to be facing a different angle, and to coordinate that at the same time as moving is going to be extremely hard to do, I think.
Right. And it would definitely require more than 3 Ares for full coverage.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay. I mean, yeah. I think then that might be a legitimate idea. I mean, there's so many ways they can deal with both of these problems, but I think what it comes down to is they just need to deal with the problem, and I think they're trying, but.
I think one of the reasons why sometimes it's not necessarily that they hesitate. I think it's more like the resources required to do that, because that means more coding, and it's not just the coding part of it. I know players tend to think get the coding in it, everything is done, set. But the thing is, if they have any artwork, any promotional thing that is heading out the door, and they're dealing with third parties, let's just say they hired another design studio to do marketing campaign, and they have that bot in there, it's going to affect everything, and all of that boils down to cost. So you have marketing costs and everything attached to that too, which is the downside of it.
Right. I mean, and with any game development, there's a reason why some things take a while to get rolled out, any kind of change. But I don't know. I think when there's an issue, I don't know, maybe they should have just kind of dealt with it early on, because it does kind of leave a little bit of a I don't know, maybe a bad taste in some of the players' mouth to, have a robot that gets nerfed 6 months after release, that everybody's had it, and sometimes some players don't understand, why it's being nerfed, because, other players have been using it for so long, and, why does it need a nerf now? And I think that might be why, or at least weighing on why xCHIEFx is a little hesitant to nerf the Ares directly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, like, last year when I first spoke to them, one of the things that I mentioned was the just releasing, like, OP content, like something that's so powerful, and then nerfing it down. They did actually change. I mean, if you look at the other robots and stuff, since then, I mean, you're going, like, you're looking at, like, even like the tier, like a lot of the bots and stuff that they released since then were actually released pretty weak, and then they buffed it, right? So, like, the Mercury, I don't know what other bots came with that Strider. They weren't, like, overly powerful, and then they buffed it. Suppression bots is a good example. Blitz, Invader,
Yeah.
they were later buffed after they were released. Even weapons. Now, if you look at, like, Shredder, Pulsar, I think even the IRÅN weapon, sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. I mean, like the Dragoon, for example, that one was a little bit too powerful. I didn't agree with, like, the way that they released that. But other than that, I think most of the things that they released were generally weak, and then they kind of have learned from their mistake, but then every now and then they do kind of mess up, like the areas. Right.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of I think it was probably more than one mistake in this case, because I think you're right. The Last Stand is also very heavily to blame here. So I think
whenever they release stuff really quickly, that's usually when things go bad, which is why they need to slow down.
And I think for the most part, they have done well. Like you said, they they release content and then have to buff it later. And I think that's probably a safer way to go about it. But things happen, and sometimes there are things that are unforeseen. And I understand that. A lot of players may not understand that, but I totally get that happens. And I mean, I've been a gamer for probably 30 years now, almost, and so I'm familiar with buffs and nerfs, and it's always a cycle. It's constant. You give some, and then they take some, and they give some, and they take some. It's gonna happen. So it's just a matter of are they gonna do the right thing, and can they do the right thing without really hurting too many players along the way. So and I want to reiterate to the viewers, we still don't know what the nerf's going to be. It's complete speculation, as to what they're going to do with Last Stand. Hopefully it's not as extreme as the proposed shield breaker module, because that thing's out there. But we don't know. Some of you guys are mentioning some decent ideas in chat. I've read lots of ideas on the different social media platforms. I know Adrian has too. I see him answering questions constantly in different Facebook groups. There's a lot of options out there, and I'm sure they've looked at them, but they're also a company that has to kind of, okay, which one can we actually do? What can we legitimately do and isn't going to cost us a ton of money to implement? But I don't know. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Last Stand. I'm sorry. I hope they consider some of the feedback that they're getting. I know that most of the YouTubers have given plenty of feedback, and they but I don't know if they're gonna hear it. It's kind of up to them. on what they can really do with the feedback they're given. The Ares, on the other hand, I still think that we're not going to see the Ares meta end until they come up with something even more powerful, or they make it so nobody wants the Ares in their hangar, which is unfortunate because it really isn't a terrible robot. I mean, it could be, it could be good. It's just, I don't know. But at the same time, like Adrian said, he thinks that the last stand, needs to happen first.
Hey, Chief, it's Studley. Can I say a couple sentences?
Sure, Studley. Anybody doesn't know Studley, he's in my clan here. Go ahead, Studley.
I'll be a little disappointed on the last stand nerf. Spent quite a bit of silver on those things. And I really liked Adrian's idea about a front-facing shield for Ares. I listened for about a half hour, so I caught about quite a bit of stuff.
Right.
Well, I'll let you guys get back to it.
All right. Well, thanks for the input there, Studley.
I do like the idea of that front half shield, because if you can flank the Ares train, then the Ares train is way less effective.
Yeah, and you're also more likely to get in splash damage too, because remember, you don't have the whole 360. The only, I could see that being very powerful in smaller areas, like, for example, pushing through the tunnel on, Moon Map, or through the tunnels on Carrier. Because in that case, then you're not going to get through. But you could technically still do damage to them, because this is just a really bad example, but splash, if someone is running Noricums or something from the top, you could technically do damage to them that way. But I think overall, it would be a lot harder to pull off something like an Ares train, just because of, you would have to have the precise angle of all the players, and it would require more Ares to do such a thing, which means
right now,
other areas of the map are going to be open.
Because right now the Ares train can walk through with no cover at all.
Yeah.
And if done properly, you can never hit them.
Yep.
Without getting in and hell diving on them, using something to get into the shield. Unless you get into the shield, you can't do anything against a well done Ares train. So if you could hit them from the side and flank them, then that knocks that out of there.
Yep.
So I could see that being a pretty good solution.
Right, but I agree with you. That would probably be the easiest solution from a player standpoint. But
coding-wise,
who knows?
Coding, yeah.
I don't think there's any, other than physical shields. There are physical shields that are front-facing only, but I don't think there's any mechanic in the game right now that only has a front-facing energy shield. So that would be definitely an all-new coding nightmare. And will that coding, work? I don't know. But
that would be an expensive change.
I've also mentioned, why can't they just make the hitbox smaller? Have you guys tried to shoot at a Gareth that's running sideways? You can't hit it. Its hitbox is just so small. Now, granted, you couldn't make the hitbox that small and still have the shield work, but I don't even know if it's even possible to make the hitbox smaller on the shield and not bring it in closer. Because if you bring it in closer, then you start losing the one of the counter abilities that we have of getting into their shield. But
well, I don't think the coding is necessarily the issue. I think the issue is that they're not going to make a change unless they can somehow make a profit with it. So they're not going to invest in the code unless they can reap some money out of it so that they can continue to do what they're doing.
Yeah, because at that point, it's going to cost them resources because they need developers to code it, and that's going to cost them. So now, how are they going to cover that?
So I think the shield breaker is their idea. They're going to bring in modules So now people spend, gold, which could equate to dollars, to get people to use modules to actually affect a nerf on something. And it just seems to be the way that they're going right now. And
Yeah.
Which, with the shield breaker coming out there, that also brings up there'll be less quantum radars. There'll be, less lockdown for people running the shield breaker. So it opens up other options.
Right.
So, you're not going to have shield breaker on every bot.
Right.
And it's 40 cells.
Well,
I don't like spending 40 cells at once.
I've never used a 40 cell module, but they, and I get that they need to make money. I don't fault them for that one bit, because they do put out a product that I play, I enjoy, and it costs money to happen. But, at the same time, they should not be selling game balance, and that's essentially what they would be doing if they were to do it in the form of a module. If you want to have balance with the Ares or, any shield bot, then here you go. You either have to, spend money on power cells because it's going to cost you a ton, or you have to buy this, new, if they decided to make it like a passive module of some kind, I don't know, then you would have to buy gold for that. And I think, I like the idea of modules. Modules are cool, even the ones that cost power cells, use them. They can give you a slight in-match advantage. And I'm cool with that. But they should not be trying to balance the game with that.
I don't think they'd be balancing the game like that at all, because what they'll be doing is creating another imbalance, because then we're going to see a lot of Aljungs.
Yeah.
Aljungs, and like Loki said, then they've just created another problem, and then we were back at square one again. Just different bot.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh gosh, what was I going to say?
It begs the question, what kind of bot are they going to come out with next? Are they trying to set us up for something? That's another question too. And the other thing,
that's the reason why I said we should be careful of just nerfing the Ares, because we might need that firepower to deal with whatever the next bot is.
Right.
Which we don't know about. I don't know.
And another idea I heard was a nullifier that basically was a module that would nullify any passive modules. That was an interesting idea. Because I could see them doing something like that as opposed to an actual nerf or change to the actual last stand itself.
Well, I don't know if it's just a change in their development model or what, but it seems with the introduction of pilots and some of the changes they made more recently, it seems like they're trying to do slight buffs, slight nerfs through pilots.
I had a really good idea now. Sorry, I'm just thinking of it before I forget.
No, go ahead.
What about the idea, because you know how the way that shield breaker works now, when you target a player, it breaks a shield. What if you had the shield breaker where you target the player, but it adds cooldown to them actually using that shield? So for example, if you fire that at an Ares, if the cooldown time is, I don't know what the cooldown time of the Ares, let's just say it's 20 seconds, all of a sudden it becomes 30 seconds. In order for that, like if they did that, it would actually break up an Ares train, because if you had multiple players, they can't activate their shield constantly. You've now added a cooldown time to it.
So you're
that'd be an interesting module. Add cooldown to whatever active module.
Yeah, so it does kind of break it down, but not like
their ability.
Delays it. Yeah.
I know it'd work on any bot's ability too, which could be effective on a lot of things. That could be it.
So, like on a bulwark, it would slow down the Aegis regeneration, or an energy shield.
Or the ability to swap.
Yeah, but I mean, they could like maybe adjust that based on the bot too.
Like a percentage of whatever cooldown, whatever,
like depending on how it's
the ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. Hitting a pursuer so he can't go stealth for another 8 seconds.
Well, I mean, this would be specifically to just shields, not necessarily.
What do you think about tying.
Well, I mean, you could apply that to every ability and
Yeah.
provide an interesting situation, another dynamic to the game.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. It'd be more of a defensive use module, you know.
Right.
And I wonder, is that something that you'd be able to use on them even if their shield is currently active? I don't know.
Well, yeah. And then once it cools down, then that additional 10 seconds or whatever gets added to it.
Right. That's a pretty interesting idea, I guess. You know, I never really thought of anything like that. You could actually kind of prevent the problem without directly nerfing
I mean, you're
anything.
not
Doing anything to the bot, do nothing to the bot, but
you're not breaking down. What you're doing is you're adding to the cooldown of that bot's like ability.
Right. You know, what I would like to see if they did come up with something like that is, you know, I'm assuming you mean it would be like an active module, and you would have to select it. So you're kind of taking a hit by selecting it, but you know, maybe there should be like maybe only a 5 power cell usage cost for something like that, because you know, it's strictly defensive. It you know, it doesn't do any additional damage or harm to the enemy, you know, other than delaying their ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it'll have to be on the cheapest side.
Right. That's
cheap.
interesting. Yeah, what's up, Studley?
If you tied it to a pilot, then people would probably pay gold for it to advance the level of the shield breaker, the time of it, whatever.
That's actually a pretty good idea too. Then it wouldn't even take a module, you know, the module slot. You could still use QR or healing or whatever. You could just have a pilot ability for it. Interesting ideas.
that definitely changed the dynamic of the game.
Now, if only you knew somebody that had direct access to Pixonic developers. Yeah, no, I mean that's actually some pretty good things to think about. But you know, the more I talk, you know, and listen to kind of, you know, some of the things that we've talked about, especially with the last stand nerf, you know, I guess the more I'm kind of seeing from your side that might be the route to go to nerf the last stand before, you know, trying to tackle the Ares directly, because I guess you're right, to where it's like, you know, it doesn't matter what they do to you know, to the Ares. If they have the last stand, you know, you're still not going to kill it, you know.
The thing with last stand is, I mean, I don't know, if you watch me play like my older bots, first thing I do is make sure it's got a passive module slot. Second thing I do is slap that last stand on there. I mean, that just goes to show you how powerful that thing is. Like, I mean, if I'm doing that just by, that's the first thing I do when I look at the bot. Can I put last stand on there? I mean, that just says a lot. When you put that on Ares, obviously it's going to magnify things. But, I mean, I'm talking about all bots here. Like that, yeah.
Right.
That's my downfall with nerfing the last stand, is that I've got it on all my bots in my Hangar 1.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that I don't think, like, because players have paid for it, me being one of them and leveling it up, I think that something like that, if they change it, it's better just to have it where you can use it on all the bots. And that list of all the bots will change as the game evolves. So therefore, you don't actually lose out on it. I mean, maybe you can't put it on like your Ares, but let's just say you are running like a Mender or something, you know, or a Spectre, you can still run it on there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
As long as you don't lose the investment.
Yeah, because you won't be losing your investment at that. Like, you just can't.
I mean,
put
you'll
it on
have
the
it, but for like guys that have 5, and if I'm running my Ares and now I can't run my last stand on my Ares, I've got a wasted last stand, the second hanger that I don't use.
Well, I get that. It might be kind of painful at first, I guess.
The grind to upgrade them.
The grind
to upgrade them, wow.
Yeah.
You know?
But, if they put a restriction and not allowing people to use it, going from this date forward, it's no longer going to work. So, people in the future will at least be able to make a better decision, I guess, on module purchases. I mean, at some point, somebody is going to have to take it in the shorts. That's, now, I mean, whether that's Pixonic that takes it in the shorts in some way that says, okay, well, we screwed up, this is all OP, here's a big refund of some silver or gold or whatever, or if it's the players that, spent who knows how much money to have, 3 hangars full of MK2 Ares, they're going to take the loss. Somebody along the way is going to have to take a loss. So I guess we need to try and figure out, or Pixonic needs to try and figure out, okay, who can we, push this loss on that's going to least affect them? And I guess for me, I mean, yeah, I have a lot invested into Last Stands too, but if it meant a more balanced game, I guess I would be like, okay, well, yeah, I can't use them right now on most of my bots, but, they're not a complete loss. I know I'll be able to use them in the future. The downside to that is I probably won't be using any bots, later on that aren't current meta, so.
Right, like if you make it where Last Stand, you can't use it on whichever is the OP bot in the current meta, well, that's, I mean, the last round of bots aren't too OP, but you really wouldn't be able to have any new bots to have Last Stand. Otherwise, that would make it OP in itself, because now you can have your Last Stand back on this one. I don't know. I don't think that would really be a good way to go, honestly. Because then it's a constant fight of who needs it and what setups need it. Like I'd rather see like a duration change or go from invincible to a resistance. Yeah, I think that would be a better way to go to kind of bring balance with the Last Stand.
Most of the nerfs I've seen haven't been that severe. I mean, I've been playing for a few years now and had plenty of bots and weapons nerfed. Didn't feel the pain that much. I just wonder if they're gonna, I mean, if they cut the duration of the Last Stand a little bit, if it's really going to make that much difference.
Well, I mean, if you cut it from 4.5 to 2.5, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
I would be happy with it. I would be fine with that. With having 5 of them and still working on leveling them up, I would still max them all out.
As long as everybody's the same.
Exactly. If everybody dropped to 2.5 seconds, in my opinion, I'd be all right with that. Just, the same with, I've got an Ares that I paid for. I'd love to see the shield duration dropped and the cooldown raised. Just by a couple seconds on each. Give you a few second gap in between the Ares train, and that's all you need. Lock one of them down, now the train can't move. If the train does move, they're leaving one behind and he's dead. So I think that would be, my opinion, like the best thing you could try to do with the Ares right now without really changing a lot of coding, because it's not a whole lot to change a cooldown time.
Same with
when compared to like making it a front half shield. Now that would be an awesome one, but like we said, the coding on that, it's not a realistic fix because they're not making money off of it. They're just trying to make people happy, and let's be honest about it. If they're not going to make money off it, it's going to cost them money. They're a lot less likely to do it. It's business. And I totally get that. I don't want to see them go under because then we lose our game. They got to make money. But I'd like to see it more fair. And when you said people taking it in the shorts, there's been a lot of times where it's mostly the free-to-play players who end up taking it.
Right. And it shouldn't be that way. I mean,
it should not. It shouldn't. No.
A customer-oriented business would always be the one to take the loss. But that isn't necessarily possible.
The way it is in gaming.
And it's not the way that it is all the time. Gaming specifically, they usually do pass any kind of negative thing over
And I
to the
mean,
player.
And from a business point, you really don't want your pay guys who spend a lot of money on the game, you really don't want them taking it in the shorts either, because then you're losing some money. So you don't want to make them mad, but you don't want to be the one to take it in the shorts. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah, completely agree. But in this case, even most of the pay guys that I know, they're willing to have the Ares take a hit, or and most of them even said the last stand broke the game. And these are guys that pay a lot of money. So
Yeah, most of the ones I know say all the same things too. That the Ares is boring. The Ares train tactic sucks that it's so good.
Yeah,
because it's boring.
When they start telling you how to vote, watch out.
All right. Well, I kind of want to start kind of bringing this up to a close a little bit. I mean, if you guys want to, mention a couple of other things that you guys might have each, pertaining to the Ares, the, Ares train, the last stand, any kind of nerfs that are having to do with that. But then I'd like to kind of open it up for questions that any of the viewers might have. That we can try and go through before we wrap it up.
I have a hard time with any nerfs or any changes when people have spent so much time and resources into getting things. It's not fair to the players, obviously. But as we see time and time again, they release things that are OP or too strong, and they have to be adjusted. So I guess the question is, where do you find that balance? And for me, the Ares itself, I think the frontal shield idea is a good idea. Whether they'll do that or not, who knows? I think even if they were to slow the bot down a little bit, that would help a lot. So it'd be easier to get into that shield and to actually, affect damage or kills on the bot to stop the trains. I think just slowing the bot down itself would be extremely helpful, and not even a lot, just enough that a lot of these other bots like the Blitz and the Pursuer could easier to get in there.
Right. Okay. What about you, Mecha?
Right, like you said, the frontal shield would be awesome. That would be. I would really like to see the gameplay change on that, and the tactics into taking out the Ares train, and how many people would stop running it because of that. That's what I would like to see. These hangars with 3 to 5 Ares are just so boring to play against. And it's not that you can't take them out, it just takes so long, because you can take out the Ares train. Very few people run it perfect. It's easy to take out. The Mercury is probably the best in my opinion. I jumped in on a 4 deep Ares train, and 3 of them had last stands. I took out 3 of them with my Mercury. I almost got all 4. So it can be done. It's just, I think a minor change would help. Like I said earlier, I think the best thing in my opinion would be add a few seconds to the cooldown and take a couple away from the shield. Make it where it requires more than 3. Because you're not going to stop the Ares train. That's the coding involved in changes that would stop it are just not realistic.
Right. Okay. How about you, Adrian?
Well, for me, like I said, I still think like the last stand needs to be addressed, but it's only more because I don't know what bots are coming down the pipeline. I know it's affecting the Ares right now, but it might even be a bigger problem with, the next bot that they decide to release, or bots. I think that the frontal shield idea that I have proposed would be kind of interesting, but I don't know if they would actually go for it because of the amount of coding and just the cost for them to do such a thing. Like, being that the Ares has already been out and they're probably going to have, they're already probably ready for the release of the next bots. So it would take away from that too. But I think it would be interesting with the whole shield breaker thing. Instead of actually breaking the shield, I think AD Gaming said that like the idea of being able to penetrate the shield for a couple of seconds, just kind of like using quantum radar would be interesting. But I would like to also see like the idea of adding more to the cooldown time of that player being able to use the ability, because I don't think the Ares train will exist then. So I wonder how that would affect the gameplay of, I mean, not just the Ares, but some of the other bots as well.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. How about you, Studley?
I'm still loving the game. This is one of the funnest games I've ever seen on the internet. Been running. My favorite bot right now is probably an Inquisitor with xCHIEFx and Orcan, so both up to 12s. Been watching my jump distance and shooting for around 140 meters, jumping in on those Ares, and it's funny watching them try to get away from me.
All right.
Nice.
And I see we had another person lurking here in the background. I don't know if he wants to add anything real quick. I see Bitch Please sitting there in the chat. I don't know if he's got anything.
I didn't know he was hiding back there. What's up, Gavin?
What's going on, Mikey? Sorry, I didn't mean to crash. I just thought this would be easier to listen in on. I got home late.
Yeah, all good.
I think it would be great for the shield breaker if it worked for the rest of the squad. I think that would help out. And maybe not just one, sort of like the Death Mark does. I think that'd be a cool concept.
Okay.
I still like Adrian's front-facing idea on the Ares shield.
That would be
a big difference.
That would be fun. That would be fun. I don't think we see it, but that would be fun.
I would have more fun piloting the Ares in that case. I heard that and I was like, wow, that's a really cool concept. Because you can't turn, you can't look left or right. You got to stay forward facing if you want your shield to catch. That's a really cool idea, Adrian.
It's almost kind of like piloting a rhino in a way, if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that hard to code either. I mean, it's 180 degrees versus 360 degrees. Doesn't seem like it'd be that tough if I was a software engineer.
Like Chief said, if we knew somebody who had contact with Pixonic,
Yeah, and for me, I agree. That's probably the best sounding solution for dealing with the issues with the Ares. Though I agree. We really don't know what's involved with coding it. So we don't know if it's viable, and we don't know if they're going to listen. But for me too, I think the more I talk it out, the more I kind of understand. Yeah, Last Stand kind of really did create a lot of these issues. So let's, maybe we do need to kind of start there and wait and see what happens. But that front-facing shield idea, that's the clear winner if I had to choose one. As far as dealing with the Ares itself. And, it doesn't really hurt the players that have the Ares. It keeps it very strong because we don't know what's coming down, in the future. But I can tell you that I know Pixonic is in development for whatever the next group of robots is going to be. That's something they mentioned on the dev stream, so they already know what kind of robot it's going to be, at least the general idea. So they are developing it, and we have no idea what it's going to be. So we might need those super strong robots still. I think it's been a pretty good discussion. And I know there were a lot of comments there in the chat. People agreeing, people disagreeing. Some of you had some of your own ideas. I'm sorry we didn't really get to everybody, but I think for the most part it seems like much of the community is kind of on the same page. They want some things to be addressed with the Ares and maybe with the Last Stand. But if you guys have any specific questions for anybody, or anything specific you want us to kind of address, just write it in the chat, and we will try to get it read or answered before the end of the stream here. Give you guys at least a couple of minutes for that. And I know I got a couple of donations there during the stream. It's much appreciated. Kine and Anonymous, whoever you are, thank you very much for supporting the channel. But definitely a couple of names there, Big JJ, AD, and Islander. And thank you all for stopping by the stream too. And
when is the Adrian nerf?
Yeah, I think we got some good ideas in place. I don't know if Pixonic will listen to them, but like I said, my favorite is Adrian's front-facing Ares shield. I'm not in big favor of nerfing the Last Stand, but I'm glad you brought this all up, Chief, and thanks again for all you do for our clan.
Yeah, no problem, Studley. Trying to back read here real quick in chat. Looks like
Ivana had a really good idea too. Like every time you use or your shield on the Ares kind of gets hit, then I guess the duration is lessened, so it gets weaker. That's an interesting one.
Every time you use it, the duration goes down.
But the retribution goes up, so it's kind of a mix that you have to work with, because hitting the pink shield adds damage to the retribution, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that would be kind of an interesting idea, because then you would kind of have a choice: do I let him have his duration, or do we just take the hit on one of our blue team members that's gonna get hit really hard?
It's like, you go first. My shield has been hit enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely way better than the idea of the shield breaker module. I would much rather see something like that. That's actually a pretty cool idea.
There's a learning curve to everything.
What if each use of the ability would have a longer and longer cooldown? So the longer you stay in the bot, the longer the cooldown will eventually be. That's kind of another idea. I think it might be a little more difficult to try and plan tactics around that, though. But definitely kind of it's a different idea.
Yeah, Islander just brought up the idea of the bubble push. I heard him talk about it, where if there's another player inside your bubble as an Ares, they would get pushed out, so you effectively are not protecting them anymore. It's an interesting idea. Right. I don't know.
Or it slowly does damage, like a dot damage.
Oh, yeah.
Over time, while you're in the shield, if a friendly is in your shield, he's slowly taking a little bit of damage from you. Never thought of that one.
Yeah. What was the other one I heard, where if the two shields meet, then it causes damage to the two bots?
Yeah, I heard somebody say if they two shields meet, they both blow up.
I have one better than that. This would solve everything. If Ares shields overlap even once, they both get half the silver payout.
Yeah.
Boy, that'd create a whole nother thing with tankers.
Yeah.
Tankers be running 5 Ares just to mess up silver for other people.
Yeah, and that's something too to keep in mind with any changes that get proposed, other than it's all just our idea, not, none of us have any control over the game or Big Sonic. But you kind of got to keep in mind, can this be abused negatively? Right.
Yeah. And if my Ares shield is destroying other people, there are pilots out there who would do it. Just finally got friendly fire.
Oh, look, we got Droopy in the house too. Tried to get him on the show so he can have share his sexy voice with everybody on
screens.
YouTube again.
Don't cross the screen. Nice.
All right. Well, it's there's definitely been some pretty solid ideas, and I mean, I don't know if anybody from Pixonic ever watches this stream, or or if they will watch it, but hopefully somebody does, and maybe some of these ideas that you guys are sharing will get shared back to Pixonic. That's part of the reason why I record the chat on during this show, and so that when it gets posted, people can still read all of the chat as they came in, and I think that's kind of an important aspect to this kind of a show. Never know who's going to be watching, and of course, a couple of us do have some access to Pixonic developers, where we do make recommendations that and do our best to try and look out for the best interest of the game and for all of the players. And I mean, I can't tell you what specifically gets said, but I will tell you that you have a lot of people that are YouTubers that are giving feedback and trying to address your concerns.
Boom. Hey, thanks for putting this on. I gotta go. The wife just got home.
Okay, thanks, Dudley. Thanks for jumping in, man.
See you guys later.
See you, Studley.
I wanted to take a second to say thanks for Adrian and one of his streams a while back. I won a Raven, so I got some good silver off of that. I appreciate that. I actually tried it. I wanted that bot to work. It's
Raven's
not a champion
actually
level bot.
it is quite deadly, but the thing with the Raven is you need last stand on it. If you have last stand and anti-control with lockdown, it actually is quite deadly. Like, I've run it a couple times now, and you can catch a lot of players by surprise with that.
I had a lot of fun with it. I had a whole lot of fun with it trying, and I mean, you can do some work with it, but in the top tier, it's
you'll get smoked. Obviously against Ares, because you don't even have a shield or anything.
Yeah, no stealth. It's fun though. That bot was fun to pilot. I wish I would have had it in lower leagues. But I did make good silver off of it, so.
Nice.
Yep. So yeah, this is I don't want to repeat myself, but yeah, it's been a great discussion. I appreciate all of you guys coming in and being guests for the show. Especially Adrian, I know you've had a very, very busy weekend, and you've still got a lot to do with your own channel. So I appreciate you taking the time to drop in on the stream and share your ideas and thoughts with what's kind of going on. I'm sure that most of the viewers definitely appreciate hearing from you on that, and same for Mecha Outmode, and the few words from Bitch Please. Thanks for coming onto the show also, and sharing your thoughts and ideas, and most of all, thanks to all the viewers. I know you guys typed a lot in there, and it seems like we may still be on a little bit different pages as far as what we think needs to happen first, whether it's the nerf to the Ares or nerf to Last Stand, but at least now we've all kind of heard the different sides, why we think it's important, and now hopefully we can all kind of make a little more of an informed decision on what we want to see happen with the game, or at least a little more of a decision on whether or not we want to do I really want to spend another 40 million silver upgrading a Last Stand, or should I kind of hold off, so yeah, I think that's probably going to be it for the show, guys. And I can't say enough, how much I appreciate all the support of everybody on YouTube and all of my guests each week when I do this show. And I look forward to bringing more and more shows. I really enjoy doing it, and hopefully the viewers, you guys enjoy participating. I try to get through as much of your comments as I can, you guys have a lot of impact, and I do go through and rewatch this show each week, and try and write down different things that you guys have put in, so for that I thank you guys. Any closing words from the guest? You guys definitely have a voice here. I mean, we're all on different platforms, but the game is the same. So, you are always welcome, and, maybe I'll do a special episode that's specifically for Steam, because I know Steam and PC, the Game Room guys, they don't always get the most, recognition, and you guys are playing the same game, minus the ads, but it is the same game. So... Okay. Anything else? Mecagod, Adrian, any closing words? Okay. Well, I appreciate taking the time and helping me at least see a different perspective, some things that I wasn't thinking of. So I definitely appreciate that. Right. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for stopping by the stream. If you guys have not yet done it, please hit that subscribe button. It's much appreciated, and you'll get the notification if you hit the bell the next time I go live. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and until the next time, Chief out.